Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about the show Them, so let's get into it and talk about it. So this is going to be my review for the first episode of the show Them on Amazon. This is a show that I've always wanted to watch, I just never got around to. It's a horror show, so it piqued my interest right away. I love horror, it's my favorite genre to watch and review. And see, let's go ahead and get into it. I know it's an older show and you may have seen it, so I'm probably not going to be doing like theories for season 1, but season 2 was coming up, and that's how I actually decided to do this show, is because I saw an article about season 2 and remembered, hey, you never watched season 1. So anyway, let's get into this review and talk about this show. So when the episode starts off, we get this shot of this house, and the way it's filmed with the light and the color and everything, it made me think that this might be a dream or a nightmare. But I think later on you find out that that's not the case. So we just start off with this mom and her baby, and she's cutting peaches, getting ready to feed the baby. And I still thought this was a dream sequence, and it could be. I could be wrong. But I think, later what we see in the episode makes me believe this isn't actually a dream sequence. But anyway, so you got this mother, and she's feeding her baby, and she's just kind of going about her business. And I have to say, this is one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen in like on TV. This I just wanted to love on this thing. I pick it up and just love on it. But anyway, so she goes outside, and there is a strange woman here. And I'll have to admit, as soon as I saw this woman, I was afraid for this family. Because this woman just looks like trouble, and she turns out to be. And I really still thought this was going from a dream sequence to a nightmare. This woman just really put me, really made me anxious. And you can tell that the mother here feels the same unease that I was feeling, and it really makes you fear for the family. The woman, this creepy old woman that made my skin crawl, starts singing this really racist, like old-timey song, I guess. I've never heard anything like it. But the mother knows, like, she recognizes it, and she asks her to leave. And she tells her that her husband will be home soon. And the woman says, we saw him leave. Like, she says, you talking about the man with the 2 girls? We saw him leave. And then you really know that this woman's in trouble. That the mother's in trouble, I mean. And the creepy old woman hears the baby crying, and like, my heart broke for this family, because you can tell this woman has mean intentions. And she asks if she can have the baby. Like, who would give their baby up like anyone, but who would give their baby up to some creepy stranger, And, yeah, you just know that it's not gonna be good. And then the camera cuts to the side, and you see 2 men coming up the road, and you don't see what happens, at least not right here, and it can't be good. And then we cut to the mother, and she's in a car with her husband and the daughters, and it's done in a way that makes you think she was dreaming that. So I thought that was just like a terrible nightmare, that it may be like a reoccurring nightmare. And I think I was wrong right here. I think later you find out in the episode something happens, and I think she was having a nightmare of a terrible memory, and that's maybe why the family is moving from their home to moving out west. I believe they are from North Carolina, and they're moving from North Carolina to California, and this is the trip. So you're seeing the trip of the family moving. Like thinking about like the memory and the dream or whatever it is right now, because I'm not for sure, but that's terrifying, and I don't know what kind of show this is going to eventually end up being, but they have created such a feeling of dread and terror in the first, like, not even first 10 minutes. So I'm really excited to see where this show goes, but just the terror created in those opening minutes, because we can all understand the terror of a parent when someone's threatening your child. I mean, that's just gut-wrenching. So then we find out that the setting is 1953, and it says in the opening credits that a lot of African-American families moved from the southeast and the south out west to get away from the Jim Crow South. And then we get our family, our main characters, moving into their new neighborhood, and you have a lot of these white people who are just like, hell, they're shocked that a black family could be moving into their neighborhood, and how dare people just want to be treated fairly, and you have they're just standing around with their mouth hanging wide open, watching this family that they don't know anything about, but they're already judging. And it really makes me wonder, like, what is the horror going to be? Is it something supernatural, or is it going to come from these people? Just how they're to what lengths will they go to try to torment this family who have done nothing to them? So I'm really anxious that I'm already feeling dread and anxiety as just this family's just moving into their home, and they're just, they just want to live. That's all they want. They just want to live. And so, yeah, it makes me wonder where this is going to go. And we quickly find out that, like, their very first day in their new home, the entire neighborhood is against them, and these terrible women of this community set up tables to sit in the sun and play racist music outside this family's home. I mean, what? I have a hard. I mean, I believe that this kind of stuff happened, but I don't understand how you can treat somebody this way. It just blew me away. And it seems to be that this group of terrible women are led by this rather large-faced woman right here. And even at this point, I was fearful that this woman could be like the main source of horror and evil in the show. You're already kind of sensing that, but again, this is my first time watching, so I don't really know where this is going to go. But it's right now it's hard to watch because I hate to see anyone treated poorly. And this family, they may have escaped. They may have just experienced something so traumatic because we don't see the baby with them. And I really hope nothing happened to the baby. I hope it's just a nightmare and we find that out. But, again, I don't know. Now, while the mother and the children of the Emery family are experiencing their kind of run-in with all the neighborhood mothers and wives, Mr. Emery goes to his first day at work on his new job, and he's greeted with racism on his first day at his new job. The lady who, I guess the receptionist, keeps telling him that where the kitchen is, like the only way he could possibly work in that building because he's black is in the kitchen, or maybe as a janitor or something. And he's there, he's an engineer, and he's just trying to find out where he needs to go. So then we go back to the family's home, and we have Miss Emery with the youngest daughter, Gracie. And this is when you first really start to get the idea that maybe what we saw in the beginning really happened, and it wasn't just a nightmare, because she's talking to her daughter, and they're talking about a book that she's reading and what she's learned from it. And the daughter gets up and she starts to dance and sing the same song that the woman did at the beginning, that what I thought was a dream sequence. And there's no way that Ruby would know that song. And so the mother is really put off. And Gracie says that she learned it from a character in her book, which looks to be like a weird, really tall nun or something like that. And that becomes kind of a big deal in a little bit in the show. But yeah, so it's when you start to get a sense of there's a supernatural aspect to this horror here. And right here, my heart really goes out to this mother, because you realize that she is in full-blown PTSD, and she is triggered by this song, and she's reliving this horrible event that happened to her and her baby that we don't see anymore. So it really must have played out really terrible for her and for the child, and that's just heartbreaking. Then we cut to the women of the community. I guess they're having like a little get together while they work on getting lung cancer and eat pie and talk about the best way to torment this family who has the audacity to live in their community, because they have a right to it, and depending on how you look, you don't. So then we cut to the men of the neighborhood, the husbands of the wonderful women that we just watched, and they are also threatened by their new neighbors to the point that they are actually talking about killing the family's dog in an attempt to try to get the family to move. They've spent one day there, and they are so threatened by these people who have done nothing to them that they are talking about killing their dog. And it seems like this family has a supernatural horror aspect to deal with, and God, what I don't just the these people that live around them and what they could potentially do to them, I guess. So there's horror on both fronts, and I don't know which is going to be worse in this series, but I'm anxious to find out, because so far I'm loving what I'm seeing. I mean, I'm hating the way they're treated, but I'm loving the storytelling, I guess is the best way to say it. So later that night, Gracie hears, what she hears is the dog, and she gets up to go find Sargent. So Gracie goes into the living room, the main room, and she sees this very tall, thin, creepy lady that I believe is going to be somewhat supernatural, because she looks like the nun that was in her book that Gracie told her mother told her that terrible song that she was singing. And Gracie is, I think, scared here, and she just watches this thing approach. So it reaches out its hands, and then it lunges and it grabs Gracie, and I jumped out of my seat. This was a very scary moment in the show. I love horror, but it also very often gets to me. And this was a really scary part, and this is when I also, I really start to think that, this is going to be a supernatural horror story, and I'm all for that. The next morning, Miss Emery goes to check on the kids, and she finds this mark on Gracie's neck, and she realizes that someone is in the house. Gracie says that someone got Sargent, their dog. I think that's what she said. But anyway, the mother realizes that someone's in the house, and she starts yelling, and the father comes. And I don't think he believed her at first. He goes looking through the house, checking all the doors, and then he finds the basement door with Sargent's collar on the door, the doorknob. Mr. Emery goes downstairs and finds Sargent, the family dog, very much not alive. And, it's clear that someone's been in their home. I wasn't, at this point, I wasn't sure if it was a real person or something supernatural. I feel like it's probably supernatural, because this is not the way the husbands of the neighborhood had talked about handling the dog. And I don't think that anyone actually went in their house, but I think it wants us to think that someone did, at least for the parents to think someone did. But I think what Gracie actually saw is what happened. I think what she saw hurt Sargent really bad to not alive. The Miss Emery, she realizes what has happened, and she gets she's very triggered by her past trauma and the audacity that someone could enter their home and do something like that. So she takes I have to be careful what I say on YouTube. She takes a weapon, and she goes outside, and she shows the neighborhood that they are not to be messed with. And but I don't think the neighborhood's going to get the message. Mr. Emery and the girls come out and grab her and take her back in. And that's the end of this episode. So I think episode 1 did a really fantastic job of introducing our characters, of setting up tension between our main character family and the whole neighborhood, as well as creating a sense of dread for something about this house. I really feel like there's going to be something supernatural, and the way they keep showing the basement door, and the shots looking up the steps toward the basement door when the family opens the basement door, it really creates a sense of just horror right there. So I think that the basement is going to have some role in this horror story. I don't know what it is quite yet, but it definitely foreshadows that, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I really enjoy the main character family. I hope that we do find out what happened to the baby, and I hope it's I like I said earlier in the review. I hate to see people treated poorly, and I feel like this is going to be a hard one to watch, but I think it's going to be an amazing story. And I can't wait to watch more. Well, that's all I have for this video. This has been my review for episode 1 of Them. If you want to catch more of my content, you can click the box on the right, and that will take you to my Ones Who Live playlist. You can sub in the middle to catch all my future content, or you can click the box on the left, and that will take you to one of my most recent uploads. And guys, I will see you in the next video.